Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson. My name's Alexis Taylor. I am Trevor's special education teacher, and we're here for Trevor's annual IEP meeting. Before we get started, I want to go ahead and talk about procedural safeguards and the rights that you guys have as parents. I know I emailed home the procedural safeguards paper for you guys, but I want to go over it just in case you guys have any questions. First off, the whole reason we use procedural safeguards is so that way the parents know what rights they have. They have the right to refuse, they have the right to ask questions, to be a part of the team. And we want them to know that they are with us through every step of this process. Um, and then the other part is all the parents and everybody here is here for Trevor. Um, your input is extremely important for everything that we do for Trevor and in the development of this IEP process. Um, this process is a team process. It is not the school, it is not just the parents, it is a team process. So it's really important that we work together and collaborate through everything for Trevor. Going over some of the procedural safeguards, I want to first go over what the formal procedural safeguard is, and then I'll go into explaining it a little bit. So the first procedural safeguard is you have the right to be given written information about the school division's actions that involve your students' educational needs. This information will assist you in providing informed consent for educational decisions. Essentially, this is the prior written notice. This is the notes from the meeting about what we proposed, what was refused, why it was refused, and we have to write it in a understandable language. So whether English is your first language or you speak a different language at home, it has to be something that you understand and are able to comprehend. All right. Next up is you have the right to information in your own language. Kind of the same thing. You have the right to have any information that we give you in your native language. You have the right to allow information to be shared or certain actions to be taken, and you must hold the right in your language you understand. You have the right to take it away or revoke your consent at any time. Essentially, this is your parental consent. We have to get parental consent to do absolutely anything, whether it's change something in the IEP, additional testing, stop or start accommodations, or special education services, anything like that, we have to get parental consent. And going off of that, the second procedural safeguard that goes along with that is you have certain consent rights. For example, the school must get your consent to evaluate a child for special education and to start, change, or stop providing special education and related services. Like I said before, we have to get your consent to do anything. We're not just allowed to test Trevor because we want to and we want to see. We have to have a reason behind it, and we have to make sure that we get your permission to do so. If you disagree with an evaluation completed by a school division, you have the right to have your child evaluated by someone not connected to your child's school division at the school division's expense. So at the end of this meeting, if we decide as a team, or if the school part of the team thinks that Trevor is not eligible for special education services anymore, um, then you have the right to go outside of the school and get somebody else to test him. And then we can kind of compare the two and if see where the discrepancies are. If you believe Trevor is still eligible for education services, we can absolutely look at that and see what we can do and how we can fix that. Um, on top of that, we're not just going to let you go out and figure it out on your own. Um, if you request an independent evaluation, um, us as a school, we have to give you resources about where you can obtain that independent evaluation and how what the procedures are that go with that. We're not just gonna let you go on your own and figure it out. You have the right to be told by the state about how information um, about your child is being used and kept confidential by the state and local school divisions. So, kind of like going over records and that kind of stuff, you have the right to know who's accessing your student records and why they're accessing them. The school division has to keep a detailed log about it, and then you are able to request that at any point. You also have the right to review your child's records at any point in time. The school must um, fill this request no later than 45 days after the request is given. And again, the school has to track who and why is accessing your child's records. So anytime I access Trevor's records, I have to sign my name and why I'm accessing them. If the speech language therapist is accessing them, same thing. Got to sign and why you're doing it. Um, Next, you have the right to ask for mediation to resolve a disagreement, including those issues that lead to a request for due process hearings. You and the school division have the right to refuse mediation. Your request for mediation cannot slow down or stop your request for due process. So essentially, before we get to due process, we can have a mediation hearing or kind of like a dispute resolution where we come together as a team, we decide who we want at this meeting between the both of us, and then it's our way to try to resolve any issues or any discrepancies that we're having. Um, so before it goes full legal court, that side of it, due process, it gives us a time to talk it out, and we can have people there who help mediate and are more independent versus one side or the other. And then finally, we have the stay put rights. Um, Stay put rights are if you refuse as a parent the proposed IEP, you don't agree with it, you think that your child needs more services or less services, you have the right to refuse that IEP draft or that proposed IEP. Um, if that happens, us as a school, we have to follow the last agreed upon IEP until there is a resolution. So the IEP that Trevor is currently um, following, that would be the IEP that we follow until this current IEP that we are proposing is signed. Um, so even if us as a school decide that, hey, we don't think Trevor is eligible for services anymore, and you disagree, we cannot take those services away. You have to give your parental consent once again. And if you do not give consent to the IEP we are proposing, we still have to follow the IEP that was last agreed upon. Um, I hope all of that makes sense. Please let me know if you have any questions. I also have two resources that might be able to help if you're still kind of iffy about what procedural safeguards are, or just need some little extra help understanding them. Um, I have the Virginia Department of Education has your family's special education rights, Virginia Procedural Safeguards Notice. That is a booklet that I can give you. We have that here at the school. We make sure that we give all of our parents that booklet, regardless of if they've got it once or if they've got it every single IEP meeting. Um, you will always have that booklet before an IEP meeting with us. And then the other resource I have is the Parent Educational Advocacy Training Center. They provide workshops and have information for parents about procedural safeguards and what parental rights you have. Um, it's really great. I've looked at their website, I've attended some of their trainings. They have some really great insight and are really able to help break it down for parents so that way you know what rights you have. I am very excited to work with Trevor this year, and we will go ahead and start with this IEP meeting. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.